What is up, homies? Today I'm going to be showing you the best 2v2 deck combination of all time to go undefeated. We're going to play 15 games of 2v2 with this deck combination, and we're going to see just how many of those games we can actually win. Off rip, you guys can see we win this first game pretty easily. So these are the decks that we're running. We've got Royal Recruits, Goblin Cage, Royal Hogs, Empress, Barbarrel, Electro Spirit, Arrows, and the Zappies. This deck is very good synergy, very good split lane value. It makes this deck very powerful and very strong. The second deck here is kind of a bit more of a support role, so it's going to be somewhat similar, but we're going to have the recruits as well. This is very important to this deck. The vines, which can be subbed for another small spell probably, or maybe a freeze, as well as the Evo Dart Goblin. That's pretty integral for this. And then the Mighty Miner is also very important for this. And then we've got a couple of cheaper cycle win con type cards with the Bush and the Wall Breakers, and we kind of use those to distract or kind of get those smaller spells out so that they can't get a lot of value on our recruits when we play those. Kind of also the purpose of the Firecracker and then the Goblin Gang. So we're going to go ahead and try and win 15 games here with this. So here we're going to play recruits split at the bridge with the Goblin Gang. This is going to just give us some split lane value. That's kind of the main focus of this, is to get split lane value, force the opponent to play as much uh, elixir that they can to counter either half of the recruits, and then we can piggies and capitalize with the bush and the wall breakers when they're kind of low on elixir. So you're kind of baiting out those spells with the recruits to play the recruits, or you're kind of using the little guys to bait out the spells so that you can capitalize and punish with the recruits. So you don't have to kind of buy into one style. You can kind of switch up and change the focus. I think that's another reason of what has made this deck really good, is it's very versatile. The Empress, as you can see on the tower there, does a lot of damage, which is obviously very beneficial. And then that was the second game that we won there. Alright guys, so then for this game here, we started off with Bush in the back and Empress to counter the Dark Goblin, which led to an Executioner coming out, which we were able to counter. They're going to drop a Mega Knight on our Bush here, which is a bit of an overspend, which we were able to capitalize on because we had the Mighty Miner. So we were not super worried about that, which gave us some good split lane value with the Hogs here. Hogs up top is a really good play if you can split them and you know they're kind of low on elixir, because they're going to have to spend more than 2 elixir to counter either side of the Hog there. And then it puts you in a good spot with your recruits right after that to kind of put them in the back to set up a defense that you can then turn into an offense. That's kind of what this deck is all about, is resetting with um, the recruits and being able to turn that defensive push into an offensive push, or kind of a support push for maybe your Bush and your wall breakers. So we're going to Empress here and then support them with the recruits. So we're gonna be able to take out that executioner here, and then stop the Mega Knight with the Zappies, and that's gonna open up the door for us to use some hogs here into the barbarians. And we're gonna try and kite those guys away with this huge push here on the left with the wall breakers, which is able to take that tower, and then they're able to tower trade with us here, which is fine because we're up on this other tower here against them, so that puts us in a decent spot going into overtime. And that was kind of what we were hoping for. With the Mighty Miner ability on the back there, you're able to get a lot of value out of him if you take one tower out. Um, and again, recruits kind of in this middle here. Now that the one lane is open, you want to kind of play them higher so that they can't do something in the pocket there like a Mega Knight and really capitalize and punish you when you're down on elixir. Both players having the recruits is so important to this combination, because it feels like when you're playing against it, you're always countering recruits, um, which is, you never want to feel like that. Uh, and then we're able to get some more hog value here, and again with the miner, switch lane is going to pretty much put us in a spot where we can win this game here with some Evo recruits. Um, and then piggies to get that 3 crown there in the pocket. So we ended up winning about 8 straight with this deck combination. Um, And then we got into this game here, uh, going against Golden Knight and Logbait, I think probably is what we're going against here, is what I'm guessing with the Dark Goblin. Um, Curse. So they had a pretty solid matchup against us. Curse can do pretty good against the recruits because when you got double recruits, that ends up being 14 potential goblins if you play it right. And then they've got an RG, which with the cage, we're able to counter that better. If we had played that a tile over, we would have been able to get to stop him from attacking us, but we were the misplay there. But it ended up working out fine because we were able to still counter it and then get some really good split lane hog value. Um, Logbait struggles a bit if you can split lane value on them, so that's really important to kind of give us the advantage on that matchup. And then also our ground Empress is going to be someone who gives us a little more value here than she maybe normally does. Mega Knight again is kind of not great against us. You would think Mega Knight does good against the recruits, but it really doesn't because he ends up just being overpowered by the recruits because there's so many of them. And again, we're going to do a ground Empress to try and shield from the Zappies so that we can get a lot of value from those Zappies here on this tower. And I wasn't even paying attention to that other tower, but we took that second tower too, which ended up working out well for us because they would take our tower again. And then we would end up winning this game as well, and this would put us 5, 6, 7, 8 games or so in a row, which I felt was pretty solid. All right, guys, and this will be the last game I'll show you from this deck deck type that we had. Um, so we're gonna bush here just to cycle, and then Empress in the back also just to cycle. So we're gonna find out now that they've got Hog and Delivery. So we know when they play Delivery that we can then probably play our Hogs because they're gonna not have their counter for the Hogs. This also gives us a good opportunity to recruit because we know they're a little low on elixir. That cage could have been played a little better to full counter the hog, but that's okay. If you put it in the middle here, when it breaks the goblin cage, he can get a punch on the hog rider, which is very important. Another split lane uh, overcommit where we were able to split our recruits and then they were overcommitting to get them, so we were getting a lot of value there. So we've got a pretty healthy lead here now, so we can kind of just defend. So we'll reset with the recruits in the back and then the cage to defend. They're going to get a really good push there and take the tower, so we're going to probably end up going to overtime now. We had our Mighty Miter on the tower there, but then they were able to vines him to slow him down. But at this point, with it low enough, we know we can put the Mighty Miner on the left side and then ability, um, which will then get a lock on the tower, and that's going to take that side out pretty easily, guys. So overall, homies, we ended up 14-1 with this deck, so we did end up losing a game. Unfortunately, I don't have the footage for that to show you guys. Basically, what happened was we overcommitted a little early, and then they were able to really kind of punish us there. So you got to be careful a bit with that double recruits on the bridge is very tempting, but that's a very high risk, high reward play. Um, but that is it for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe if you want more content like this. Take care.